Rock2World, correct?
I'd like to think so.
You're familiar with the employees of Rock2World.
At least a few of them, yes.
And you're familiar with the wristbands they use at Rock2World.
Mostly the World Tour Pass, but I'm familiar with most of the passes, yes.
Now, I want to ask you a few questions about some things you talked about on direct examination. The first of these being an interaction you had with Cameron Poole.
Absolutely.
You stated that you bought a World Tour wristband from Cameron Poole.
Yes, I did.
But this wristband, it didn't have the sequential numbers that it usually did.
It sure didn't.
And some of the cash you gave him didn't go into the till.
No, it went under the till, and that's why I asked him some questions.
Yeah, you asked him some questions, and he told you that he and a few friends were taking a cut of profits.
Objection, Your Honor. This statement is hearsay.
Your Honor, this falls under the hearsay exception, 803B3, because it is a statement by an 804B3, excuse me. It's a statement by an unavailable witness, Cameron Poole, which has been determined, as well as a statement against his interest, saying that he and a few friends are taking a cut of profits from the park is clearly against his interest.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
The statement, I and a few friends are stealing money from Rock2World, that statement goes against interests of other individuals, and because of that, it will not fall under this exception, because it incriminates another individual we don't even know who it is.
May I respond?
You may.
By saying Cameron Poole stating that he and a few friends, he is incriminating himself as well, not other people. He is including himself. This is a statement against Cameron Poole's interest.
May I respond, Your Honor?
One last time.
The language in the Rules of Evidence, Rule 804B3, it states that it must expose the declarant, and the declarant alone, to criminal liability. Because it exposes other individuals, this statement should not fall under this exception, and therefore is inadmissible.
Your Honor, the language of the rule does not say that it must incriminate only the declarant, merely that it must be a statement against the declarant's interest.
Right. No overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Kaminsky, at that time, Cameron Poole told you that he and a few friends were taking a cut of the profits from Rock2World.
Yes, that's what he told me.
And you told him you wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I promised him before he said anything that I wouldn't tell anyone.
In fact, you asked Cameron Poole to do you a favor.
A favor? No?
Yes, Mr. Kaminsky, you asked Cameron Poole to do you a favor.
I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
You saw a business opportunity in this exchange.
I'm still not sure exactly where you're heading, ma'am.
Mr. Kaminsky, you handed Cameron Poole a stack of your business cards and asked him to do you a favor.
Well, every time I come to Rock2World, I leave a stack of the business cards with the ticket booth operator. I've done that for years now.
Now, you just witnessed Cameron Poole put some of the money that you gave him somewhere other than the cash register.
Yes, he put it under the cash register, ma'am.
He admitted to stealing from the park,
Yes, he did.
and you asked him to do you a favor.
As I just mentioned, I always leave the ticket booth operator a stack of my business cards. It's doing it for years now.
Mr. Kaminsky, yes or no? You asked Cameron Poole to do you a favor.
I don't believe I did.
Is it your testimony today that you did not ask Cameron Poole to do you a favor?
Well, I ask every operator if they can hand them out to the clients.
Mr. Kaminsky, my question was yes or no. You asked Cameron Poole to do you a favor.
Yes, I suppose I did. That's true.
Now, you mentioned that you were at Rock2World on August 30th, 2012.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And you're familiar with the defendant.
Yeah, I know him.
You said that the defendant was your favorite ride operator.
Yeah, she was one of my favorites, that's for sure.
So when you were there on August 30th, you looked for the ride that she would be operating.
As I always do, that's true.
But on August 30th, the defendant seemed distracted to you.
Yeah, she seemed stressed. I wasn't sure what was going on, but she did seem upset, yes.
And at the end of the day, you were waiting in line for the Tunnel of Terror ride, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
But then you got the second text message that you mentioned.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And so you left the park.
I did, that's true.
And on your way out, you saw Cameron Poole being chased by a security guard, correct?
Yes, that is true.
And you continued to your car.
Yeah, I stopped for a second, but I didn't want to disappoint a client. Midland is a small town. I don't want to get a bad rep.
Of course. Now, when you got to the car, you found out your client was Cameron Poole.
Well, when the client came to my car, I did realize that, yes.
And Cameron gave you your $300, $400,
Yes, yes, he did.
and he climbed in the back of your car,
Yes,
and he
That's true.
made a phone call.
yes, yes, ma'am, he did.
This phone call was to the defendant.
I believed it was to it, that's correct.
Now, I want to talk about a few things that Cameron said to the defendant. He told the defendant that we were going to get caught.
Yes, I don't remember the entire conversation verbatim, but I do remember something along those lines, that's true.
Now, you remembered him saying something along the lines of, we were going to get caught, correct?
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember everything word for word, but something along those lines, that's true.
But if you were to describe this conversation, you would say that Cameron said we were going to get caught.
Well, through mic from the front of the car to the back of the car and a speakerphone, is what it sounded like, that's true, I do agree.
Now, you would say that Cameron said, I had your knife.
Yes, I did hear that clearly, that is true.
You heard him say that no one would know that you had anything to do with it.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay?
Your Honor, this falls under the hearsay exception of 801 D2E. It's an admission by a party opponent as Cameron Poole has been identified as a co-conspirator.
Your Honor, Cameron Poole has not been identified prior to trial as a co-conspirator. And furthermore, this is after the robbery, and this does not tend to further this conspiracy.
Objection's overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Cameron Poole told the defendant, no one will know that you had anything to do with it. Yes or no?
Yes, yes, that's what he said.
And then finally, Cameron Poole said, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut.
Yes, that's exactly what he said, but Witt sounded more confused than ever at that point.
But Cameron Poole did say those things to the defendant, correct?
Yes, as I said, that's what he said.
And so you dropped Cameron off at the Midlands Marina like he requested?
Yes, I did exactly what he asked.
And you never saw Cameron Poole again?
No, I didn't.
But you did see the police the next morning?
Yes, bright and early.
And you told the police everything you knew?
Well, I told them everything that they would let me, that's true. They seemed to be in quite a rush.
Mr. Kaminsky, you told the police everything you knew, correct?
Everything that they would let me, that's true.
Now, you told the police about the time that you saw Cameron Poole stealing money from the park earlier that summer, correct?
I was going to, but all they wanted to hear about was what happened on August 30th.
But Mr. Kaminsky, you said that you told the police everything you knew.
I told them everything that I could, that they would let me.
Is your testimony today that you didn't tell the police everything you knew?
It's my testimony that I told them what I could.
You also told the police that you didn't recognize the voices that you heard on those phone conversations.
I told them that the phone calls were involved in the case, and they just kind of brushed it off. They didn't seem to care much at all, really.
Now, you also talked on direct examination about you never saw the defendant doing anything wrong that summer, correct?
That is correct.
But you weren't at Rockterworld every day, were you?
No, ma'am, I wasn't. Just from what I saw, she always seemed to be on the up and up.
You're a busy guy, you know, with your business, correct?
That's true, ma'am.
You couldn't be at Rockterworld every single day.
And I never claimed to be. I do have a business to run after all.
And even when you were at Rockterworld, you didn't see the defendant all the time.
It's also true. I don't follow her around.
And so you did not see everything the defendant did in the summer of 2012.
Can't say that I did.
No further questions.